Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the OUSA Dota League Season 3. I'm your host, 49, the Mastercaster who talks a lot faster, and this is Game 3 of a best-of-3 series for the elimination for semi-finals between Fight Club playing against Gucci Unit. Both teams have pretty much decided Game 1 and Game 2 off the back of their third pick. Gucci Unit unfortunately go for a Templar Assassin a little bit too early, and Fight Club going for the Zeus pick too early on. This time, Gucci Unit decided to go for a Respect ban for the Silencer. They're the ones with first pick, so we're going to be seeing the Sniper ban coming out from them as well. Fairly self-explanatory. It's easier to play the Sniper than it is to play against the Sniper, and very similar to the Troll Warlord, he excels at turning ganks around and providing a lot of pushing presence. Over for the line for Fight Club, going to be seeing a Pandarian Brewmaster ban. They're not afraid to give away to Troll Warlord, and given Wolfgun's performance in the last game, Troll Warlord necessarily didn't have that much impact. It was more the Templar Assassin that was able to pull out the game, as well as the Nature's Prophet coming through from Bambi. So Gucci, they might go for the Troll Warlord first pick once again. They do this because they don't want to give it away to Fight Club. So Fight Club once again going to be shaping the draft, choosing to ban out one of Bambi's heroes as well as one of Mule's. It will be interesting to see who they decide to go for the first and second pick. We could be seeing heroes such as the Warrunner and the Vengeful Spirit coming out from Fight Club. Gives them a great reliable way to deal with the Troll Warlord, but we're going to be seeing the Witch Doctor first pick coming through from them once again. Witch Doctor, very safe and very consistent support, very powerful defensively because of the Paralyzing Cask as well as the Death Wall itself. With a Restoration, it's just extra gravy. It makes it very difficult for you to deal with the Witch Doctor during the laning stage, and can be quite clutchy, especially if they decide to dive and leave the tower. UGTFO, once again, going to be resuming his role as a Centaur Warrunner. Very effective Centaur performance coming up from him, with the exception of a fairly shoddy item to go for the Pipe on inside. Pipe actually had zero impact. He didn't even actually use the item once. Going to be seeing a Space Cal coming through from Gucci. So we will be seeing most likely Bambi playing the Spirit Breaker in the offlane role, Wolfgun playing the Troll Warlord as the safe lane partner, and Mule will be playing the mid lane most likely. Hopefully won't be seeing it in the Templar Assassin game. We're going to be seeing a Skywrath Mage ban coming through from the boys in Gucci Unit, just because Skywrath, not only is it very difficult to deal with as the offlane hero, so Bambi sheds a tear, gives you a massive amount of kill power, especially with the Centaur Warrunner and Skywrath Mage and the Witch Doctor. Very powerful, aggressive support duo. Traditionally, Witch Doctor is a very defensive support, but with the Skywrath Mage to initiate and to provide you the damage through the Arcane Bolt, Witch Doctor is then able to provide the lockdown. So between the two of them, especially since you've got two 600 range supports, you've actually output a fair amount of physical DPS. So it will be interesting to see what Fight Club decide to ban out. We're going to be seeing the Phoenix coming up from them once again, even though a Spirit Breaker most likely will be run as the offlane. So Fight Club once again can be kind of overlapping and wasting a ban. You usually don't see Spirit Breaker in any other position apart from the offlane. Spirit Breaker is a 4 position, is a little bit too Hail Mary. If you do make a slight misplay in the early stages of the game, Spirit Breaker isn't really able to bounce back, whereas in the offlane role, he's at least able to provide a lot of consistent pressure. So it will be interesting to see how Gucci Unit decide to play this. Looks like for Game 3, they're deciding to be the aggressor. Going to be seeing a Slark Respect ban coming through from Gucci Unit, so King Killer. Could be seeing another Luna game coming out from him. Not a big fan of the Juggernaut, especially in light of the nerf to the Sakharith as well as the Omni Slash. So it should be interesting to see what he decides to go for this game as far as the carry is concerned. So we are going to be seeing the 4th ban come through from Fight Club. It's being a little bit of time deliberating as far as the 4th ban is concerned. It will be interesting to see if they decide to prioritize support bans at this point, such as heroes like the Rubik, for instance, to help you deal against the Centaur Warrunner. It looks like they're choosing to ban out Bambi's heroes. The Broodmother going to be banned out. They do still have Nature's Prophet available, so Fight Club might actually be forced to go for a Respect Nature's Prophet ban. They could actually look to go for Nature's Prophet as the greedy form, starting off in the jungle, have the Spirit Breaker operate as the offlaner. Otherwise, you can have a roaming Spirit Breaker. Just the weakness of it is if you're unsuccessful with your early rotations, it can blow up quite quickly. It's very difficult for you to find a lot of recovery from. So Fight Club, the third pick is often what's made or break a lot of these drafts. Every single time for game number 1, it was the third pick Zeus that actually cost Fight Club the game. Didn't actually offer them a lot of kill potential against Templar. It gave them a very easy lane. It meant that they were quite heavily outdrafted by Gucci Unit. And game number 2, Gucci Unit picking up the Templar too early really did set them up to fail. So it will be interesting to see if they decide to go for a bit more of a safer third pick, such as by picking up another support hero, or even choosing to pick up the carry hero early on. Traditionally, the carry in the mid tend to be the last 2 heroes to be picked up. You usually want to pick up your supports by then, just to make sure that since the supports are a bit more flexible as far as the positions are concerned. So we could be seeing something like a Lion pick coming out through from Fight Club. Lion very effective at dealing with the Spirit Breaker because you can hex him as he runs towards you. The Rubik also isn't too shabby because you can lift him up, although the weakness of the Rubik because it gives you 2 very powerful defensive supports, doesn't really give you that aggressive capability. Vengeful Spirit's going to be the play. Venge Witch Doctor actually works quite nicely. You could have the Witch Doctor initiate with the 600 range Paralyzing Cask, or Venge can choose to start with Boot first, in which case Venge initiates, then the Witch Doctor, and then you start whacking him down. Venge is also going to be very valuable at pulling people away from the Troll Warlord. If you could kite Troll Warlord when he pops that Battle Trance and starts going ham, very effective way to cripple his teamfight impact. In this control Warlord, he has to constantly keep hitting the same person in order to really utilize the buff that the fervor provides. So the best way to deal with Troll is just to be the constant kite around, make it very difficult for him to just be focused on a single target and just go hat out and unleash an instant. If you're able to control the Troll Warlord, then the rest of the team fight starts to get a bit sloppy. So it will be interesting to see what Gucci decide to pick up for their mid lane, unless they decide to start picking up some of their support. They want to go for very aggressive support to synergize with the Troll as well as the Spirit Breaker, especially in light of the Witch Dog as well as the Vengeful Spirit. Line also wouldn't be too shabby coming through from them. They're actually choosing to go for the Jakiro. So Jakiro most likely going to be run as the 4 position support, or potentially the 5. Jakiro does have a bit of flexibility. The fundamental weakness of Jakiro is because you've got such a slow cast point and a very slow tone rate. Very easy for the heroes to simply be able to prevent you from casting, such as, for instance, if Jakiro is caught inside the battery assault from the Clockwork Goblin, the only ability he can use is Macropire. Everything else, his cast point is too high, so it means that Jakiro is going to effectively be stun locked out of the engagement. But against the Centaur Warrunner, the Centaur can still be blinked behind Jakiro, go for the stun before Jakiro can turn around and throw out the ice path. So it does give you an effective way to deal with the Jakiro. Vengeful Spirit as well as the Witch Doctor, unless if Jakiro is excellent and landing all these pinpoint ice paths, not going to have that much impact, but the power of the Jakiro is A, the zoning potential coming through from the Liquid Fire, as well as the push power. Jakiro is great at providing area control, but once again, Fight Club, going to be going for Flash in the mid lane as the Viper. Viper's had a pretty big impact in game number 2, was able to dominate the 1v1 mid matchup, made it very difficult for the boys in Gucci to really recover at that point. The Templar Assassin was too far crippled. And Fight Club, once again, gearing up their draft towards the mid game, maybe looking to pick up another late game assurance. We could be seeing a Luna pick coming through from King Killer, just to ensure they have that late game assurance, while the Centaur Warrunner as well as the Viper are able to give yourself a lot of early and mid game power. So it will be interesting to see how Gucci decide to react to this. They still have access to heroes such as the Outlaw Devourer that can do okay against the Viper, although I suppose it does heavily favor the Viper over the OD. They could choose to go for the Razor. Razor would be a very valuable pickup coming through from Gucci unit, especially since you've got the Centaur as well, so you're guaranteed to get a good static link off in these engagements. Viper's very slow, so Razor's able to lead towards damage and start whacking around the rest of his team. So Razor would be a very powerful pickup coming through from Gucci. A bit unfortunate that Sniper's been banned. The Sniper's one of the better counters to the Viper. One of the reasons why Viper has fallen out of the metagame is due to the fact that Sniper completely destroys the Viper in the laning stage. Also, we could be seeing something like a Storm Spirit, although that's a laning stage that does heavily favor Viper. Storm Spirit is eventually able to hit the point where Viper can't really do much to him, so that could be a potential line of play coming through from the boys in Gucci unit. Will be interesting to see what they decide to pick up, especially since, once again, the third pick from them, Jakiro, not too sure I agree with the Jakiro pick. That might wind up costing them a fair amount, especially because Jakiro, you go for the Ice Path against Viper. Viper face tanks it with the Corrosive Skin Snare. Jakiro's snared enough that Viper can just run him down. So Jakiro doesn't really give you any kind of reliable way to deal with the Viper. Can provide you a fair amount of kill power against the Witch Doctor and Centaur, just to force him to slip there. Looks like we are going to be seeing the Nature's Prophet pick up, so it could be run as the offlaner, also could be run as the greedy 4 position support, or starting off in the jungle, in which case that means Spirit Breaker is going to be. So we are going to be seeing potentially a roaming Space Cow in conjunction with the Jakiro. So it will be interesting to see how a Fight Club decide to react to this, especially because they know that Bambi's going to be going for some red Dota. Gucci, where they excel at, is by pretty much taking the game late and relying on split push. Which Fight Club's biggest weakness, especially since they're actually currently playing with the standard, is they don't have enough team cohesion to effectively respond to split push. They're very centered around these 5-on-5 skirmishes and going in for these big engagements early on. That's where they tend to sort of line up their draft and where their hero playstyles tend to favor. As far as split push is concerned, once again, they don't really have an answer. Viper can't stop split push against the Nature's Prophet. The only hero that reliably can is going to be the Vengeful Spirit or the Centaur. Venge can howl into the tree line, scalp Bambi, swap him out for the rest of the teammates to smack him down. Centaur Warrunner can blink after Bambi and start smacking him around with a double edge as well as the hoof stomp. So Bambi this time, he's got a bit more pressure on him as far as the Rat Dota is concerned, just because you've got the Vengeful Spirit. One of the reasons why Tinker has fallen out of the metagame is owing to the immense popularity of the Vengeful Spirit. Venge is one of the best counters to Tinker. Because you wave into the tree line, swap him out. If you swap out and kill Tinker, the rest of their team is at a massive deficit. So we are going to be seeing a Magnus Mancer. Magnus would work quite nicely for Gucci, although in the laning stage it would have heavily favored Viper, just because you've got the reverse polarity set up for a huge Macropie coming through from Jakiro, as well as the space creation coming through from the Spirit Breaker. Lina still is available as far as the mid hero for Gucci is concerned. Lina v Viper actually is fairly even, just because Lina outranges the Viper and can actually out-harass the Viper. You never stay in range long enough for Viper to actually get a lot of orb attacks in. You hang back, constantly relying on your superior attack range as well as the Dragon Slave. So they push back and harass Viper until you eventually hit the point where you're able to nuke him down with the Laguna Blade. So Lina could actually be quite a valuable pickup coming through from Gucci. Also gives them a very powerful way to instantly start a fight 4v5. Witch Doctor is too fragile to survive, and items have to upgrade a Laguna Blade. It also gives them a fair amount of teamfight impact on top of the Jakiro as well as the Spirit Breaker. The issue with the Lina pickup is it's too skill dependent first of all. You don't have enough reliable stuns for it to be effective. So far the only form of reliable crowd control Gucci unit have is the Spirit Breaker charge. Going to be seeing a OUSA ban coming through from Gucci, so once again, they realize that Fight Club's a trend from game 2 Pick up 4 very powerful early to mid-game heroes, then pick up a late-game assurance for Kin. That way it ensures that they are able to have some kind of assurance if the game does go late. So by banning out the Deucer, it puts them in a very favorable position since Deucer really excels in this kind of lineup. You've got 4 protect 1, Deucer is able to continually find a farm, other 4 heroes run interference, eventually Deucer gets so big you can just walk over the entire enemy team. Deucer also excels against Spirit Breaker, because when Spirit Breaker charges and commits, it kind of forces them to fight around them. It looks like we're going to be seeing a Phantom Lancer. Will be the first game of Caster with a Phantom Lancer ever since he's been reworked. Less emphasis on split push, much more emphasis on early skirmishes, especially due to the fact that you have such a huge amount of DPS potential coming through from the reworked Doppelganger as well as the Phantom Rush. So Phantom Lancer sort of has 2 kind of skill builds. You can choose to go for the farm-oriented build, in which case you max out Doppelganger, and choose to go for an item like a Vladimir's Offering early on. Helps you and your illusion farm incredibly quickly. You eventually get 6 floor and you start walking over the entire enemy team. Otherwise, you can choose to play Phantom Lancer pretty much the way he used to be played by maxing out the Phantom Lance. Looks like we're going to be seeing Mule playing the Phantom Assassin. Mule used to be the 34th best Phantom Assassin player on Dota buff. It will be interesting to see how he's able to pull out the Phantom Assassin this game against the Viper, especially since they do have a fair amount of AoE coming through from Jakiro, but they don't have a reliable way to deal with Phantom Lancer, Doppelganger, all the illusions coming through. So Fight Club draft actually does favor them this time around, just because Phantom Lancer is going to be such a nuisance for them to deal with. Troll Warlord, I suppose, can at least hold his own just with the Battle Trance and the Blinding Axes, but the rest of the heroes, very difficult for them to reliably pick off Phantom Lancer, especially the Spirit Breaker. You charge into Phantom Lancer, he pops Doppelganger, it disjoints the Spirit Breaker charge, then Phantom Lancer starts smacking it around with the Fusel Blade. So it will be interesting to see how they decide to play this. That being said, Mule and the Phantom Assassin, ODL2, pretty much able to single-handedly carry them to victory off the back of how impressive his Phantom Assassin performance is. So it should be interesting to see if he's able to pull something crazy out of the bag. Going to introduce players from both teams, lineup of Fight Club. Psyche going to be playing the 4-position support as the Witch Doctor King Killer. Going to be playing the 1 as the Phantom Lancer. UGTFO going to be the offlane Centaur Warrunner, Wolfie. Just doing a quick shout out to Smart Gaming. They did unfortunately have to forfeit their series today. If Jamin's watching, a bit disappointed in you, Flash. Going to be playing the mid lane Viper. And Henry's going to be playing the 5-position Vengeful Spirit. So he's pretty much going to be ego death this game. His sole job is just to swap out higher priority targets and die for the rest of his team. Over in the lineup of G Unit, we're going to be seeing Hoo playing the Jakiro in the 5-position support role. Going to be seeing the roaming 4-position Space Cow. Going to be played by Ghoulie. Troll Warlord going to be played by Wolfcut. Over in the safe lane, looks like this time they were very aware that Fight Club, they're always going to smoke rotate to their jungle. This time he's going to hang back. He doesn't want to show himself, he's just going to wait. Decide to completely see the Valley Room there. They know they're going to smoke rotate to their jungle, so this time they're going to hang back. Mule going to be playing the mid lane Phantom Assassin, starting with the Pole Man Shield at 1. I believe in this matchup you actually choose to go for Blur at 1 as well against the Viper, just to ensure Viper can't do anything to touch you early on. It means you're able to prioritize last hits and denies. Otherwise, with the maxed out Stifling Dagger, he's at least able to break even. So Phantom Assassin excels in the mid lane because A, you're able to pick up Coup de Grace level 2 very early on due to your increased experience gain, and B, it's very difficult to dislodge you from the lane. Ghoulie going to be playing the roaming 4-position space count. Of course, Bambi. The Rat Lord going to be resuming his role as the Nature's Role. Looks like Flash is able to secure the bounty rune once again. Kin Killer rotating to the top lane. So far hasn't chosen a skill point. It's a good discipline being shown. And Fight Club, a little bit disappointed. No first blood coming through from them. Who's finally blood this mistake? Kill me once, shame on you. Kill me twice, shame on me. Kill me 3 times, I'm just going to go uninstall. Oh, choose that, and I can't get a call from them. A Mule. In the mid lane, he's going to be having a difficult time. He did choose to go for Blow at 1. It does mean that Viper isn't actually going to get that much damage off, so Flash is actually wasting his time by choosing to go for these right clicks against Phantom Assassin, especially because you've also got the Poleman Shield to work with. So Flash really has to rely on passively winning the lane, as opposed to trying to actively win the lane against the PA, just because you're not going to get that much damage in against Phantom Assassin at this point, so it's much more worthwhile for you to try to control the lane by going for last hits and denies. Wolfcut as a Troll Warlord. Troll fares a lot easier against the Centaur Warrior than other heroes. We are going to be seeing a little bit of harassment and potentially first blood. UGTFO back himself away. Here comes Space Scout charge. They unfortunately don't have Ice Path. And so Ghoulie just charging, just going to waddle on back, saying, hey dude, how's it going? Just thought I'd welcome you to the neighborhood. Kiora, Henry. Good to see he's actually going for some neutral creep stacking, so once again, actually going for a double stack throw. So Henry, actually very impressive performance coming through from him. MLG level supporting coming through from him, and Bambi. Not going to be too happy constantly eating the Spirit Lance coming through from King Killer. So Kin could be choosing to go for the aggressive build, you max out the Spirit Lance. That's much more early to mid-game centered build. Otherwise, you can just choose to max out the Doppelganger, which helps you farm a lot more effectively. Mule now with the 2 points in the Phantom Lance and the Stifling Dagger. He's not going to be zoned out by his Flash, especially since he's going to hang back and throw Stifling Daggers to get last hits from a distance. But that being said, it is going to be a difficult lane for him. So it's breaking even, so very similar to the Pandarian Brewmaster or the Dragon Knight, 2 other heroes that excel at not necessarily winning a lane, but just in breaking even and making sure that you don't fall too far behind. Looks like Kin picking up a Poleman Shield of his own. Poleman Shield on Phantom Lance is actually going to be a little bit unnecessary, especially against the Nature's Prophet, you'd be better off just choosing to go for the Ring of Aquila as quickly as possible. You really want the Ring of Aquila into something like a Yasha to help you farm. Otherwise, you could go into the Landman's Offering if you want to go for the max doppelganger build. Flash choosing to go for a very aggressive build this time, just to provide himself a bit more lane control, but Mule not really giving him much of an avenue to use it. He's hanging back, lasting from a distance like a dagger. He can just ensure that he's able to find a lot of lane control on the hero, finally finding himself some experience by going in for that value stack. Good recognition from him by stacking up these camps. It's going to ensure that King Killer is going to continually find farm. And once again, lack of support efficiency coming through on the lineup of Fight Club as opposed to Gucci unit really is going to have a massive impact when the game goes later on. So Wolfgang over in the bottom lane, once again constantly pushing the creep wave forward, so he's giving UGTFO an easy lane. You never want to do this against a hero like a Centaur Warrunner, just because you know Centaur can't actually do anything otherwise. If the creep wave is pulled around here, UGTFO just sits there and just cries. He can't actually do anything, in which case Jakiro is able to constantly poke and prod him. He could potentially set up and kill the Space Scout charge. So by constantly having the creep wave push up, Wolfgang's pretty much making himself work harder. Because now that means that UGTFO is going to get big. Hoo goes in for a liquid fire, just going to wall himself away with those illusions. And over in the top lane, Bambi. If you compare that to King Killer, he's been doing a good job of controlling creep equilibrium around here, so that means that Bambi, this is still pretty good for Bambi because it's the only potential gank path going to be through there and there, which he'll be able to see and react to in time. But that being said, it does put him a bit further forward, so he's actually at least getting some kind of zoning pressure. But Psyche, fortunately, Witch Doctor's got one armor, and Bambi very aware of this. Bambi's got forward, and once again, going to be going for a very aggressive build coming through from him. Most likely won't be seeing any points in Sprout, especially since he brought the Spirit Breaker to work with. So Mule over the mid lane matchup is falling behind fire as last nice concern once again, so Flash and that Viper having a dominating performance and just crushing that 1v1 matchup. This time choosing to go for a second point in the poison attack, give himself an easier laning stage. He still is going to be the mech carrier for his team, and he's still most likely will be the one maxing out the corrosive skin. We already see boots as well as the headdress coming through from him, so we could actually be seeing something like a 10 to 11 minute mech coming out from him on top of the brown boots. Bambi being zoned up by Henry, but Henry don't actually have that much of a kill potential against the Nature's Prophet. This is the fundamental weakness of Venge. Venge has such low range that it's very difficult for you to actually find kills, or to actually try to zone people out, just because you've got that 450 range with your low mobility. Mule, trading tit for tat, but with the corrosive skin, he's actually eating a fair amount of damage if he wants to go for a bit of pressure. Once he picks up the coup de grace, he can actually look to be a bit more active. So ideally what you want to do is smack a creep once or twice. If you don't proc your crit, then you jump on the enemy hero with Stifling Dagger. Since it's pseudo-random, every time you don't proc a crit, you increase the chance of proccing crit the next time. So it gives you a great way for the Phantom Assassin to exert dominance in the mid lane. It's one of the reasons why PA is such a powerful mid lane hero. Flash going to be eating a fair amount of damage, just coming through from the Stifling Dagger harassment. But Wolfgang, once again, going in towards the face boots. We do see a charge coming through from Flash. Here comes the Phantom Assassin Strike. Doesn't actually have access to the coup de grace to work with, and Ghoulie tries to go in for some body blocking. Unfortunately, only got one bash and with a huge paralyzing cast coming through. Flash actually had to turn this around. Mule, this is going to be a first blood. Henry turning around. Never mind the blow. Iron Jesus giveth and he taketh away. Ghoulie also going to be taking a death. Flash even to run him down. A few more cheeky right clicks coming through. They can dive to tail. Ghoulie charging towards the top lane to keep himself alive. Excellent recognition coming through from Ghoulie. Fortunately, didn't get any bashes. Ensured that Flash was able to react to that. Psyche was able to respond in time. And choosing to go for point in the ice path fairly early on. Not able to do much to deal with that UGTFO. And because the mid lane dummy decisively won by Flash, it's going to make it very difficult for the boys and Gucci unit to really recover. If we have a look at as far as the Denies concerned, Kin also notice that Kin's actually prioritizing the Denies over the Phantom Lancer. It means that he's at least a thriving experience over the Bambi. So you want to make sure that if you're playing the carry, especially if the offlane is playing quite passively, you want to try to prioritize as many Denies as possible. Looks like he actually chose to go for the Max Spirit Lance build, so he's going for the very aggressive, much more active Phantom Lance playstyle. So he will be going for the Diffusal Blade as quickly as possible to give him a fair amount of kill power. Psyche, going to be waddling around, sipping on some gym with that clarity to work with, back up to about half mana, so you can actually potentially set up a kill if they're able to rotate. Mule, if he had access to the coup de grace, would have actually been a kill against Flash. He should have had enough damage, even if he didn't get any bash procs in. A little bit unfortunate. We do see potentially another charge coming through, as Ghoulie, going to be leading the charge, backs himself away as Flash, playing himself very safe. He knows that every time Space Scale is missing, he's ideally going to be ganking the mid lane. He can't really be ganking any other lane. UGTFO, he's tanky enough that he will be to survive the initial onslaught. He could actually turn around with the Hoof Stomp into the double edge, actually holding on to his skill point. Actually chose to go for point stats instead. Not too sure I agree with this. Would have actually preferred the second point and the Hoof Stomp, or just to hold on to the skill point and maybe go for a point in return to help yourself farm. That being said, the point stats isn't necessarily the end of the world, I suppose. It does at least give you 2 stuns to work with as opposed to just 1. UGTFO going to be a little bit too careful, as could actually maybe look to set up a gang. UGTFO, that being said, catches out with the Hoof Stomp, and Hoo's going to be taking a death. He's not too careful. Hoo's dead. He's not able to land that ice bar. A few more cheeky right clicks. Here comes Blinding Axis, and Wolfgang goes in for the Blinding Axis. Here comes a charge from Ghoulie. TP response coming through from Bambi. And UGTFO, classic UGTFO play. They're going way too far forward. Bambi still should be the final. A few more cheeky right clicks coming out from him. Actually, she cancelled the last one. Here comes the Paralyzing Cast for the Psyche. Going to be a bit unfortunate. Bambi actually interrupted that last little attack. Would have ensured the kill. Should have committed instead, he chose to turn around instead. So a slight misplay coming through from Bambi. Over in the mid lane, Mule now has access to the coup de grace. So Bambi 3-2-2 confirmed, he's going to be throwing the game. Ghoulie, this is the weakness of the 4-position Spirit Breakers, why you usually see him in the off-lane role. If you're not successful with your early rotations, it's very difficult for you to recover. And so it means that you'll pretty much be playing in a one-hero deficit for your team in the latter stages of the game. So Mule over the mid lane, maybe could look to play a bit more aggressively against Flash, but Flash, he's got the mech flying towards him and the Viper Strike to work with. So Mule, he's missed his window of opportunity to play aggressively, especially with the failed rotation of Ghoulie. And over in the top lane, Killer, getting bigger and bigger, just going to be holding onto his gold. My hand of mines isn't too bad of a pickup from Phantom Lancer, especially with the current iteration with the rework of Juxtapose. That being said, there are definitely better items to go for, and the Fusible Blade's going to be one of them, especially since he's going for a very fighting style build. UGTFO, maybe looking to position himself aggressively against Troll, but looks like Flash. Finds himself an easy solo kill with that Viper Strike. Good play coming through from him. Flash once again, dominating that mid matchup, falling further and further behind. Drawback of the Phantom Assassin, very similar to the Spirit Breakers. If you play from behind, you don't really have too many ways to recover. You don't have to split pushing presence to the hero like a Templar Assassin has. So once again, it could be an issue of the Viper pick coming through from Fight Club being just too much for him to handle. Psyche, over to one lane, having a pretty good time. Picked up level 4 Henry as well, only level 2.5, but he has been constantly stacking. Not too sure why Henry's actually rotated to the bottom lane. Should just be continuing stacking these camps, just to make sure they're able to find some farm. It's like Ghoulie found himself that bounty run, could be taking a death throw as Flash. Throws a few cheeky right clicks, but Ghoulie just charges towards his mid lane. Killer meanwhile on the top lane, Bambi's just left him alone, that Spirit Lance harassment just stacks up so heavily, and Kenta will continually apply pressure. UGTFO going to be diving underneath the enemy towers, putting himself in a bit of a zone of no man's land. Maybe looking to try to snap a kill. Stampede comes through and Hoo has to turn around the Ice Path, the best Ice Path in his life. Throws it out, unfortunately only catches another hero. Not going to be enough. Wolfcut pops that Battle Trance, pops the Whirling Axe, going in against Psyche. Charges coming through. Wolfcut might be able to turn things around, unfortunately called a double edge. Not going to be enough. Bambi now coming through, Psyche, one more right click's going to be enough, especially with the tower. And Ghoulie comes in, the Space Cal is there. Hoo's in the final, UGTFO, hiding himself inside the tree line. Flash doesn't have enough mana to use the mech. But Ghoulie, trading right clicks, UGTFO, just saying, I'm not here, you can't see me. Ghoulie, he knows something's not quite right. Maybe I'm going to try and look around, but UGTFO, Jukes of Hazards coming through from him. Wave of Terror coming through. Flash eating a lot of damage from the streets towards the tower. Flash could actually be taking death if he starts to stick around. UGTFO actually kills himself. Flash finds himself another kill with the body blocks. Bambi, that's StarCraft 2-level micro. Somebody call South Korea. Wolfie finds himself another kill. Kiora starts to TP out. Henry, he knows he's one of the mess of that StarCraft 2 pro micro. Especially since Bambi's killed him twice even though he was dead. But while that's happening, Killer, the Cancer is metastasizing. Cancer now stage 2. Killer's able to find that tier 1 tower, getting closer towards that Diffusal Blade. Now has that maxed out Spirit Lance to work with. Bambi, fairly underfarmed this time around, only has 14 lost hits. So very surprised to see Bambi also a little farm, especially since he can always rotate into the jungle. So this could actually bode very poorly for Olympus Illusion, so much harassment damage with the Bambi. That Phantom Rush makes it so difficult. We do see TP rotations up in the bottom lane, we could be seeing engagement. Hoo throws out Ice Path, unfortunately Spirit Lance is there from Kin. Wolfie, he's got the Morbid Master to work with, so he does have a little bit of regen, doesn't actually have access to the Battle Trance, so he has to play a little bit conservatively. Especially since you've got the mech available from the Viper. UGTFO this time, choosing to go straight into the blade now instead of going for the blink dagger. Not too sure I agree with this. The analogy I use for the Centaur every single time is Centaur without a blink is like that scary goth kid in school. You know he's going to be kind of dangerous, but he's slow enough that you shouldn't see him coming. Once he picks up that blink dagger, it's the equivalent of that kid showing up with an AR-15. So Centaur, you now have to deal with him, you can't ignore him. Psyche kind of hunting around, fortunately get scouted out by the creeps. He did go for the aggressive Observer Lord. Ghoulie just goes in for a Nether Strike, saying, you want to try take my creep. Here comes the Liquid Fire as well as the Dual Breath. Here comes the Doppelganger going through from Killer. Ghoulie going to be caught by a Magic Missile, trying to keep himself alive, going through a charge, YOLOing into Psyche, that mech charge from Flash. This time, Flash is holding onto it. Wolfcut as well, being cleaned up. Hoo unfortunately going to be taking a death. Very little he can do. Mule backing himself away. Fight Club. Running all over the boys from Gucci. Mule blinking in, going 1v5. Everyone wants to bring down Psyche, but Psyche keeping himself alive. Able to stand their ground while that's happening. Bambi. No Rat Lord coming up from him. Bit unfortunate. Mule probably should have looked to disengage. Well, wasn't really any way for him to turn that around. Looks like we're actually going to be seeing a Facebook pickup coming through from Flash this time around. Choosing to go for a much more aggressive boot choice. UGTFO. We would actually like to see him hold on to his gold, go for that blink dagger. That casual Rosen Magi not going to be doing an awful lot for him. Over in the top lane, Henry actually just ignores his tail on tower, doesn't deny it, goes for a last hit instead, and misses the last hit. Come on, Henry. Gas is yelling at you from work. Henry choosing to go for them down in the courage, most likely going to be an item coming through from him. Kid, charge coming through. He does have the double gang to work with. Should be very difficult for him to find a pick off against him. Ghoulie got Nether Strike, he doesn't actually have enough cooldown. Here comes Blinding Axe, Doppelganger is available, and King can actually just Doppelganger and just walk himself. Could even choose to go for the bounty room, but Kid decides to just deny it with his illusions. No one can have it. Scorched Earth. Over in the top lane, Bambi, he was able to find that tier 1 tower off Henry deciding not to deny his own tower. Maybe could look to set up a kill. Kiro actually chose to go for 2 points of Magic Missile. Bit of a slight misbuild from him. Want to prioritize the Wave of Terror over the Magic Missile. Magic Missile is only really effective to max out if you're going for a try-v-try kind of engagement. So if you're going try-v-try, then you want to max out Magic Missile. You can actually get 2 off in the fight. Otherwise, you just need the 1 point for the stun. UGTFO choosing to go for the Blade now instead of going for the Blink Dagger could actually cost his team a lot because they don't actually have any kind of initiation. The initiation can be an important factor for the boys in Gucci. That being said, because Gucci have to initiate and get them with the Space Cal, it could actually work out quite nicely. Ghoulie now finally picked up treads. Goes in with another strike, actually cashes back Flash. Flash, unfortunately, Ghoulie. Stab beats there, Ghoulie kind of going on his own. The rest of his teammates kind of just like, mate, you didn't get the memo. Mule, Blink Strike himself to safety, and Ghoulie, this 4 position Spirit Breaker hasn't actually had that much impact this game. You have a look as far as the experience is concerned. 3,000 experience lead goes in the hands of Fight Club as far as gold's concerned, about a 5,000 gold lead. Fight Club putting himself once again in a commanding position off the back of their mid-game dominance. Kent has been left untreated, it's going to continue to metastasize. He could even choose to go for a Radiant, although I sure as hell hope he doesn't. Radiance is a terrible item kind of once in current duration. So Fusel Blade's going to be ridiculously powerful. So Ken does have the access to just pick up the Diffusal Blade level 1. Just decide to go for that. There we go, that's going to be a play. And with that Diffusal Blade level 1, he should just be the solo kill any of the supports he finds on their own. We do see a charge coming through on the creep, Psyche, also hiding around the tree line. Should be using that for restoration. There we go. Flash pops out mech charge. Tier 2 towers can be taking a fall. While that's happening, Mule swings some split push from the bottom lane, going for the RTZ build, maxing out power, treads, and blow. He's giving himself as much survivability as possible. Unfortunately, the Phantom Assassin, because he didn't have that much impact in the mid lane, because his early rotations weren't that successful, the PA pick hasn't actually done that much work this game. Same thing goes with the Troll Warlord, Wolfguard. Unfortunately, just hasn't really been able to do an awful lot with the hero. Being very difficult for him to try to find these engagements. He gave UGTFO too much free experience, owing to the fact that Hoo wasn't able to go for the double stack pull through from these 2 camps. I mean, it's very difficult as far as support efficiency is concerned. Especially since these camps still have been stacked. Kin should be declared him, he's got the doppelganger to work with. Henry should at least be hanging around just to leech some experience. Looks like Arcane Boots is going to be the pickup coming through from Psyche. Smoke rotation, maybe looking to go for Roshan, I suppose with the Troll Warlord. They know what's going to happen though. Every time they have battle chance and all the heroes are missing, the only place they could be is Roshan, or potentially Ancients. It might actually even look to contest. His pings are coming through. Psyche, he knows something's not quite right. Blade not just being picked up, but the Centaur Warrunner would have preferred the Blink Dagger, just because he would have actually found the very early Blink and would have been critical of helping you pick off these backline supports. Psyche can actually even turn this around single-handedly, especially if somebody else is there. If he had a Blink Dagger, Blink into stun with Paralyzing Cast and the Death Ward could actually wipe this engagement. Psyche, going to be going in, shows himself, he knows he's supposed to commit to this now, goes around, not able to get the Paralyzing Cast go, Paralyzing Cast comes in, they're able to split in time, here comes Bambi, Death Ward there, Viper Strike also going in against Blue. Ghoulie interrupting the Death Ward, goes into the Death Strike, Psyche going to be taking a death, Ghoulie as well, dies to the Spirit Lance, and Wolfie, standing his ground, going to be dealt by King Killer. Mule tries to go for Roshan, but UGTFO cuts him down to double edge. Bambi, the Rat Lord running for his life, and Flash, he's sick of his shit with that split portion that smacks him down. Former teammate be former teammate. Kin finds himself a triple kill, should be an easy Roshan for them to take if they want it. And while that's happening, just going to be chilling out in the jungle. Team fight? What team fight? I'm just going to be stacking. Kin should be to find himself an easy Aegis. Might actually even decide to give it to Flash. Flash, getting very close towards the Agadam Scepter. Ken did choose to go for the Vladimir's offering, although he also has to ring of Aquila, so slightly defective button. You want to make sure that if you are going for the Vlads, there's no point in going for Ring of Aquila and Vlads, they don't stack. This is something that needs to be clarified. We do see the Aegis team all picked up on Kin, the UGTFO. Even though he chose not to go for the Blink, Psyche, just kind of face checking, able to turn that around. Weren't really able to react in time. Had UGTFO picked up a Blink Dagger, it would have actually been an absolute massacre. Blink into Hoofstomp double edge, on top of the Paralyzing Cast Death Ward, would have torn to pieces. So Ghoulie, as far as the 4th position Space Cal is concerned, hasn't actually had that much impact. And this is the weakness of picking out Space Cal and not using him as an offlaner. In the offlane role, you're at least able to find enough farm that you can maybe get a Midas, so that way you're at least able to have some kind of relevance if you're not too successful with your early ganks. Because he hasn't been able to do so, Ghoulie's pretty much just going to be a stun block for his team. Every time he just YOLOs in with a charge, they're just able to stand their ground, especially with the Doppelganger. Now the work with the mech being built to Fight Club, they don't necessarily need the initiation, because they know that Gucci have to initiate into them. Still would have preferred the Blink Dagger just because it gives you an easy way to pick off Hoo, since Hoo's basically a walking sack of cash at this point. Hasn't really had any impact as Jakiro, doesn't really synergize too well with the rest of their team. Ghoulie, let me take an easy death. Ken, just use a Diffusal charge, let me an easy kill. Ghoulie, RIP, rest in the Federals. Flash throws in cheeky right click. Hoo throws out the Ice Fart, at least Ice Fart's over his grave. Not going to get accomplished an awful lot with that in Henry. Over in the bottom lane, looks like he has chosen to max out the Wave of Terror. Needs to max out the Vengeful next, so that way you have that push potential. especially since Psyche. It's off to a fantastic start, all things considered as far as the Witch Doctor is concerned. Has been rotating the right appropriate place. Bambi the Red Wolf finds that tier 2 tower. If you have a look as far as gold and net worth is concerned, it's going to be a pretty substantial advantage. So about a 9,000 advantage going to the hands of Fight Club, as well as about a 10,000 EXP lead. So Fight Club puts himself in a very commanding position to close out this game. They have the late game assurance this time around because they've got the Phantom Lancer, and since UGTFO has actually found a fair amount of farm over on the Centaur Warrunner Flash, going to be able to find that Aghanim Scepter. That's going to be very critical pickup as far as the Viper is concerned, because it gives you a great way to fight under pressure. Not too sure. I suppose the reason he went to Facebook to this game is because he knew that UGTFO wouldn't be comfortable playing like early on. He knew something initiation. So the Viper could potentially start a fight by just face booting in, throwing out the Aghanim Scepter ultimate to try to catch some of the other position, and Wolfcut. Zero impact as far as the Troll Warlord. So Troll's a hero that really excels at these early scratch skirmishes. Hoo-hoo! We take your death, swapped up by Henry. Henry says this is how you play the bench. Swap, going for the kill. Mech charge comes through. And with that, they can look to actually take the tier 3 tower. King Killer's there, Doppelganger juxtaposition, going to see coming through. Should actually just look to pop that Doppelganger right now. Just give yourself 2 extra illusions to work with. Ghoulie is going to be forced to charge into this to try to turn things around. They don't have Bambi, not going to be there. Actually, this might lose this race for 3 here. I will at least find himself a dying career once again. But the objective-based gaming coming through from Fight Club. All they have to do is focus on the racks. They're going to force the boys from Gucci to respond into this. Bambi, you can't get there in time. So it looks like to me a free set of racks going to the hand of Fight Club. Fight Club once again, puts himself in a good position, UGTFO caught in the Ice Bar. Here comes Wolfgun, Wolfgun falls to the Blade Mail's active, here comes a double edge. Wolfgun's going to take it down, special with the Phantom Rush, he can't kill it. Mule, meanwhile, jumping in, he's able to find himself a pickup against Psyche, never mind, Mule, going to be caught in a position, going to be taking it down, a few more cheeky right clicks. Macro Pop, no idea why the hell this place there, actually had 0 impact. Jakiro goes up the swamp into the stun, finds himself an easy kill. Second to the racks, going to be taking a fall. Looks like Fight Club might be able to close out game number 3 in another Blitzkrieg. Blink Dagger now picked up by UGTFO, so 18 minutes in, not bad timing, all things considered, as he chose to go for the Blade Melt as well. Bambi wasn't even able to take the tier 2 tower. Scrub Lord Bambi, looks like over the bottom lane. They are able to catch out UGTFO, Ghoulie's there. Here comes Bambi, able to catch inside the Sprout. UGTFO has the Blade Melt, might as well activate the Blade Melt, just at least get a bit of damage in. He's going to be taking a free death. Looks like Wolfcut's able to find it. They do at least still have to set a racks. Morgan, not going to be too happy with that. Got the Aghanim Scepter to work with. And Kin, like the recognition, he's farming the enemy jungle. Even though these two auras look like they're stacking, they don't actually stack, so this is actually a massive misplay from Kin. They're basically just wasting an item slot. You never want to upgrade the Ring of Aquila if you're going for the Vlads. So something you have to keep in mind. Kin's going to be farming the enemy jungle, so not only is he accelerating his own farm, depriving farm from the enemy hero. Blink Dagger going to be picked up by Henry. Not really too sure I agree with this Blink Dagger pickup. I suppose if you want to go for those MLG level swaps, the Blink Dagger can be quite useful, but then again, would have been much better off choosing to go for something like a Yule Scepter instead. Gives you a way to disrupt Ghoulie when he charges in. Wolfie now rotating into the jungle. Has the Hamlet dominate, still hasn't dominated the creep. He's forced to Battle Trance, just to smack down the Centaur. Sad days coming through from Wolfguard. Looks like he's going to be called out of position by Ghoulie. Ghoulie backing himself away just because he sees Flash there. And Flash, he'll provide some covering fire. Own charge there from Henry. Not too sure I agree with this Blink Dagger purchase. Even going for a casual Sange would have made a bit more sense than the Blink Dagger, especially given the fact that Gucci are the ones constantly fighting into you. It's not the other way around. Bambi, the Rat Lord going to be over the top lane. I suppose the Blink Dagger does help you catch out Bambi, but with the Wave of Terror and the swap, you already have multiple ways to catch him out. Death Wall going to be the play coming through from as Psyche is getting closer and closer towards the Aghanim Scepter. UGTFO blinks in, fortunately a little bit too late. Also even purchasing a Cunning Blade. So much hatred being shown towards Bambi, everyone going for items that counteract him. The only reason why the Blink Dagger works is because of Bambi. The only reason why the Cunning Blade works is because of Bambi. The only reason why the face boot to the Aghanim Scepter works is because they want to try catch out Bambi. So doing everything they can to try to deal with them, Psyche. Kin now choosing to go for what appears to be, could be the Eye of Skadi. Skadi is a very valuable pickup on the Phantom Lancer, especially since it gives you very cost-effective stats as well as the additional snare on top of the Diffusal Blade. Mule, items haven't really progressed at all. He's eventually going to get himself a BKB, but once again it's going to be a case of too little too late. Would have strongly preferred the Razor this game as opposed to the Phantom Assassin, just because the Phantom Assassin doesn't really do well in lane against the Viper. You break even, but the Viper still will have that advantage, especially with that failed rotation in the mid lane. And we see some Red Lord players coming through in the bottom lane. But while that happens, the tier 2 tower is going to be taking a fall. They don't have a way to fight this fight. So they're doing, to Fight Club, the only thing they really can do at this point is split push, try to look to go for tower trades until they get big enough to make that they have this items. But Fight Club, game once again in their favor, they've put themselves in a dramatic advantage. Especially since the level 2 Necronomicon is not really going to do much against the army of illusions coming through from the Phantom Lancer. Really need the Jakiro just to throw the casual Macropire just to at least prevent the push for a little bit longer. Ghoulie, waiting in the wings, looking to go for a BKB of his own. YOLO's going to be cool coming through from Wolfguard. Wolfguard may be thinking of fighting in because they don't have BKBs, it's making it so frustrating for them to go into these engagements. Treen's walking in against King Killer as well as Flash. Kin, he might actually get caught in a position to trap plays. There comes the Ice Bomb. Cycling Dagger comes through, charge coming through from Gully, blink from Henry going in. Doesn't go for the swap, goes for the blink instead. Gully's going to be taking a death for the look of it. A few more cheeky reckless coming through. The death was the paralyzing cast. Catches out Wolfie. Wolfie's going to be taking a fall. No way out for him. Looks like death was as well. Should be the catch out Mule. Mule going to be kited to hell with a Diffusal Blade. This looks like going to be game, set, and match. Fight Club able to go for 2 quick wins back to back. 5 IPs with the call coming through from Dante. Should be the close out another set of racks. 5 in the graves. The smack talk coming through. Shots fired from Fight Club. It looks like this should be game 3 going to their hands. Fight Club will be advancing through tomorrow for the finals as well as the grand finals. Gucci unit, Patty, if you're watching this, Broda, shake your head up, Sam. Shake your head up, and Wolfgang. Looks like that's going to be it for tonight. We will be back tomorrow starting at 12, so the game will be live at 1 p.m. It will be should be Fight Club playing against Smart Gaming, so we will be starting with a grudge match. Then the winner of that series will be playing Sandstorm for the grand finals. Thank you for watching, and as always, if you're in the neighborhood, pop on by the St. Davis tomorrow, 12 p.m. through to about 8. Should be a lot of fun. We've got 1 best of 3 series and 1 best of 5. Otherwise, stay tuned for more.